Hey, and we are live on our final show of this 60-day writing challenge check-in with our Josh Hayes, Ian Garner, Lauren Moore, and Amy Hale couldn't join us tonight. She got stuck at work and sent her regards to everyone. But we are here on the very last day of November to talk about how we did.
Man. First of all, can you believe, not only is it the last day of November, but can you believe that it's December of 2022 already?
No.
What?
I still think it's the 1990s half the time.
I saw a meme the other day that was like, we are as close to 1980 now as the 50s were when I was born, or some like weird number like that. And I'm like, I don't like to think of it like that. Like the 50s is a completely other life to me. And
wow. Yeah, math.
That's insane. Hello to everyone over in the chat tonight. Thanks for joining us, Keo and Kate and Jen, and I think I saw some other folks. Thanks for joining us, Stephanie. Glad to have you all with us tonight. We're going to recap this crazy 60-day writing challenge that we are closing out today. I said all along that we were kind of pantsing this challenge as a kind of a wink to everyone to let everyone know that we didn't exactly have a plan of how this was going to go, but boy, have we learned a lot during this writing challenge. And I'm going to be putting my thoughts together over the next week or so, and I'm going to publish some blog posts and talk about the things that we learned and things that we might do differently going forward, or things that we definitely will be repeating as we go forward. And there's nothing like trying something out to see how you feel about it. So yesterday I clocked in at 50,000 words. I think total for the month I am at 50,330. I think I have one more scene that I can write late tonight to kind of close out. So I'm probably going to close out the month at 51,500 or so, give or take. How are you guys doing?
Well, considering I didn't write for the majority of this month, I call this a win. I'm right at 20,000, I think, for the novel. You
were on your deathbed a week ago.
I mean, yes, I was. I was laying on the ground with the little SOS flag in my chest, like, please help me. But no, I'm at 20,000 words written. That doesn't count the planning words. So
how many pre-writing words did you get?
Grand total probably about 50, 55 grand total between planning and actual draft words.
Yeah.
And I just this week is the first week that I haven't been in ridiculous amounts of pain and haven't been popping painkillers like nobody's business. So I made really good progress this week. Still nowhere near what I needed to be at, but I still consider it a win. The story's starting to flow. I don't know if you guys have experienced this when you're writing a series. The first book in my series, a lot of things happened, and there wasn't a lot of time, what I call breathing room, for the characters to breathe and kind of get to know each other, because the author, the characters, but the characters don't know each other, especially if they've been thrown into some things. And so there's some bridge things that need to happen at the beginning of this book where they have some breathing room and they can kind of share some personal information with each other. And I don't want to get carried away with that, but there's some of those chapters that are in this book that I've been working through, and I've been taking a lot of time to make sure I'm not repeating myself. and so it's like I write, a couple of scenes, and then I go back and I reread the previous scenes to make sure that I haven't repeated dialogue or ideas or statements. And that's taken a lot of time to mesh that out. And now I'm on basically what starts the events in the second book proper. And so now all the events that I've outlined will just go bang, 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 bang. And so now that the challenge is over, I can start to write.
So what you're saying is this book is going to be your Two Towers.
What?
All of those
100%.
inciting incidents have happened.
Yeah.
Now it's
Yeah.
this is going to be the introspective.
Yeah, 100%.
Entry
Yeah.
into your
Yeah.
I get it. You know, that's the interesting thing about series, especially, is the ebbs and flows that you have in narrative style. That, you know, that first book is really setting the stage for a lot of things, and then you've got to do some character work. You've got to make those connections to make people want to follow these characters into a third book and beyond, hopefully.
Yeah. And I appreciate in the chat, Kaio and Kate, thank you very much for your support. I really appreciate it. It's been a blast being able to hang out with everybody and share and see what everybody's going through in the chat and all that stuff. So Hank, I know this is our last show. I'm sure we're going to do more, but I appreciate the invite to be a part of it. It was really fun.
So happy that you joined us, that all of you joined us. But this has been so much fun, for sure. Lauren, how's it going, buddy?
It's going well. Okay, it's not written at all, but
first off, last week you had a house full of company.
That's true.
That's true. How did that? How did the holiday and all the entertaining and all that? How did that affect your output?
Yeah. So
or your time to sit and think alone.
Oh, okay. So my house is Nana's house, and I'm her housekeeper, her live-in caregiver, and we're kind of the center of the family. So we had family in and out visiting. We are the hub. We are the hub. Yes, we are. We have the guest rooms. We have the space where the family comes for meals, and that was the past like week and a half, which was kind of like the holiday I'd always dreamed of, right? Having this big, long, extended holiday with people coming in and out and being able to entertain and host. But it also happened to be during NaNoWriMo, the same kind of month and the same kind of time. So yeah, we did a lot of family time, and I did find it hard to focus, particularly on like creative endeavors. With editing, you know, you just put in the time and you get the pages done. And if I need to get in and maybe do some rewriting or some like coming up with a different way the scene could play out, like more creative side, then I have to shut the door and maybe I have to put on my headphones and really kind of block out the rest of the world to just be able to focus. So this month really made me just in all of you authors out there who do this creative endeavor on the regular and able to come up with new things, fresh things, even while there's kind of this like chaos swirling around you, people in and out.
I'm so glad that you brought up the difference in writing and editing, because for those that don't know, your day job, you're an editor. You literally edit people's words for a living. Is that a different mental space when you're editing someone else's words? Because you do have to be focused and pay attention and kind of enmesh yourself into their story. But is that a different part of your brain that engages writing than editing?
Yeah, different part of your brain, even like a different mental state that you're in. I'm really focused and kind of using a rational side of my brain to read someone else's words, and first to kind of hear the voices that are going on and to pick up what the words are trying to say. And then I'm using another kind of analytical part to figure out how to make it even better, like to polish it up. So it feels like it's kind of at the front of my headspace when I'm getting into the words like that. But to step back and to kind of create from nothing, imagining up from absolutely nothing, these characters, who they are, what they look like, what they're doing, how they're feeling, what they're hearing, how they're interacting with the environment. That is one obstacle. And then if I can keep at it and I can keep writing, and then the words start flowing and you get into that flow state, which you really want to kind of push towards, then that's like another side of your brain, which hopefully, I can experience more often, get to more often. But that's not at all editing, not even a little bit.
Gotcha. So here at the end of November, how's it looking?
I've got most of the plot, like the big ideas there. I'm very excited about my characters and the conflict. I want to get into the world. I want to, carve out my space, my time during my schedule to make it happen. I've been looking over my notes post Thanksgiving, and I feel like Gandalf in that meme, like, I do not remember this place.
I have no memory of this place.
I have no memory of this place. Yes. So I was looking over my Dabble notes, which are very well organized thanks to Dabble.
I love it.
But I need to like reread all of these. And then yesterday I was getting back into writing, getting back into character, and it was a slog. But I feel encouraged that I can keep at it, that I've been able to, figure out that if I just keep at it just a little bit every day, keep working at it, then I'll get there, which our viewers in the chat are saying. Thank you, Kate and Kaio and Stephanie for your encouragement of each other, because I'm reading those encouragements going, that's what I need to do too. Just keep at it.
Absolutely. I said a while back that the 50,000 words is an arbitrary number that, and I don't really know how NaNoWriMo came up with that number. I'm sure there was some logic behind it. And I know that there are a number of very famous novels that clock in right about 50,000 words. The Great Gatsby comes to mind immediately, and a number of others. And I know it's a goal for, there are publishable novels that come in at this number. But to me, the goal has always been to wind up at the end of November with forward momentum, that that you have created a habit, and that there's some steam behind you, and that to me that's success at the end, that you see an achievable goal at the end and you're moving forward. And so 50,000 words, that's a fun goal. And but it kind of doesn't mean everything. But anyway, Ian, how you doing, buddy?
Well, I'm making it.
Yeah. So when we last chatted, you had a problem with your antagonist, and it was kind of had you in a quagmire in your story, and we'll
good
talk
word.
through some options there. How's that going? First off,
I feel like I have overcome that hurdle, which is nice, because I was immediately able to pick up some steam and get a lot of momentum going once I jumped over that little obstacle. Not the word count I had set for myself, but I am pleased with where I ended up, and I am more pleased that I know exactly where to go now. I have a more clear roadmap for the weeks ahead. I think, I won't be so ambitious as to say I'll be done with it by New Year's Eve, but I would love to be. And I think that's a realistic goal, but, we'll see.
Gotcha. I will say that using the month of October to really plan helped me to achieve my goal. Even though I don't know that. Are
you saying that plotting helped you, Hank? Is it? I mean,
that's what I'm hearing.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying.
I mean, these ones are connected. That's what I heard.
Whatever. But I feel like my story has grown and is diverging from the plan that I originally laid out. But
Hmm.
I will say that the plan helped me to see that in a weird way. I had to have that plan so that I could kind of unlock the other possibilities. If that, I know that doesn't make any sense at all,
Can
but
you?
If you were using the correct word, which would be plot,
Ah!
then it would make a lot more sense.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah, you can use it.
yeah.
You can use it. It's
I
fine.
know,
We'll
I
allow
know.
it.
Yeah. The plotting helped you find the story.
Keo, do not encourage them. They don't need encouragement. Yeah. Yes, it helped me. Okay. Plotting
Hmm.
helped me. I'll just say it. I'll just say it. But anyway, yeah. Okay. You won. Okay. Are you happy?
Hey, that's this whole challenge is. I mean, it's that was my goal. This whole.
It's
I
like-
didn't even want to write. I just wanted to convince you of that one thing, and so now success.
Well, you won. The check's in the mail.
Wait, so you got me to plot and write for this?
Yes,
We were all roped in to get Hank.
that's yeah. I mean, this is all a ploy. It's all a ploy. I plotted this out in September so I could make it happen in October and November.
You just
Brilliant.
made me think it was my idea.
Yeah, yeah, 100%. Yeah, that's how it works. That's how it works.
Oh, that's hilarious.
I wrote you like one of my characters.
Hank, what did your characters do to you? How'd they like change things around for you with that story of yours?
You know, well, I kind of planned out the murder that is the mystery of who done it and why is still the same murder, but there are some character motivations that have
Hmm.
grown, and I have, while initially um I had some flashback scenes that I thought covered the characters' motivations, and they were just brief kind of flashbacks. And then, as I got to writing that and used that time to plan out, I started seeing other possibilities of how I could really draw out those flashback scenes. And
Hmm.
so, my 80,000 word novel is probably going to be closer to 100 now, because I just think there's so much texture that I can add to those flashback scenes that are uh, not only going to make this book better, but subsequent books that I already see in the future will, the things that I can add here will inform those and just make a bigger world, if you will.
Ooh.
So I'm trying to be cagey about it because
Yeah.
you know,
Don't want to overpromise.
well, I don't want to overpromise, but I also I'm still figuring out a couple things, and so I don't want to jinx myself. But yes, what I've, that planning time just really allowed me to open up to all sorts of possibilities.
Are you
It's really interesting the way that happened,
are you
because
planning on? Oh, good.
you think writing by the seat of your pants, you're just taking inspiration as it comes, and you're just open to whatever flies your way. And the reality is, the longer I sat and thought about it, the more possibilities opened up. And
Hmm.
anyway,
And yeah, and new
it's a lot of woo
ideas,
woo.
new connections, and then it took your plot in a different direction.
Yes.
Yeah, I was just talking about the same thing with a friend today, a poet out in Wyoming, a border security patrolman. Um, he was talking about Stephen King's book on writing
Yeah.
and how he compares plotting or discovery writing, plotting to being an archaeologist and kind of digging away in the dirt and uncovering a skeleton, and one thing leads to another, and I'm like, oh yeah, that's how it feels a lot of the time, and that's what it sounds like. You did some of that thinking for a month, and the more you think, the more you found out new aspects to the plot, and it took you in a direction you didn't expect.
Yeah, and it's continuing to take me in places I didn't expect because of that time that I spent thinking about it. it is like as I'm writing a scene, I'm drawing in pieces that I've already kind of worked through in my brain, and it's just allowing for new possibilities to come about. So, or maybe not new possibilities, but new ways to add texture and layer to it is probably um, a better way to explain that.
Yeah. So do you think taking your book from 50,000 words to 100,000 will give you the freedom and the space to follow that new plot?
Yes. Yes.
I found
Yeah.
that to be true. Just today, I was working on this chapter. I'm in. It's interesting. We mentioned the 50,000 word mark, and I used to have problems getting to the 50,000 word mark, and now I have problems staying under the 100,000
Mm.
word mark. Just because of writing muscles grow, and you learn different things that you can do in your stories, and now talking about kind of plotting and then diverging and then changing things. One of the scenes that I was writing today is basically, it's super simple. They meet this weapons dealer and they're buying weapons. They're putting in an order for these weapons. But I was wanting to add more conflict to the scene because they're just sitting in a restaurant and the dealer comes up, they talk to the dealer and they leave. And I wanted more tension in the scene. I want the two main characters, one as a spy, one as a soldier, to have conflict because they're both going to do uh something completely different than the other person would have done it, right? But this wasn't in my outline. Like in my outline, I had a very brief argument about that's not the way we play the game, but I didn't have how that argument would go or what they were even going to be arguing about. And that just came to me kind of naturally, and it took the scene in a different place and ended the scene in a different place than I thought it was going to end, and added like 500 words to the scene. But it was really good conflict that is natural between both, and it's an interesting thing to see both play off each other. But those, like you're saying, like some of those things weren't plotted out, they weren't planned out, and they just kind of happened naturally. And I that's the kind of stuff I love to see in my scenes. Well, it doesn't happen usually on the major plot points, but on really like on small things like this where they might have had the conflict, they might not have had the conflict. That really doesn't affect like the big picture things of the book, but having it in there builds the character more. And that's the stuff that I like finding out, just that it just comes to me. And then I put a funny bit in it. The dude's eating like jalapeno cheese poppers at this like relatively upscale bar or restaurant, right? And the other guy's like, really, poppers? Like, and he's just having a time eating these poppers. And at the end of the scene, I have the waiter come up and ask him if he wants more poppers, and he's like, yeah, bring me more poppers. And I was like, okay, that I hadn't planned on putting that in there, but I'm gonna leave it because I like the way that ends the scene.
I love that.
Nice.
We had jalapeno poppers for Thanksgiving.
Ooh.
Like you made them like handmade, like homemade, or did you like store bought them? And then, because my wife does like homemade lasagna, but she'll like buy the Stouffer's box, throw the Stouffer's box out, put the lasagna in the oven, brings it out of the oven and goes, homemade lasagna for everybody. And I'm like, you can't, that's not how it works. Like, yes, you made it at home, but that doesn't mean that it's homemade lasagna.
My father-in-law grows his own peppers, so that's about as homemade as I can get them.
Nice.
I brown the sausage and cream cheese and mix that together. Core out the jalapenos, slice them in half, add it all together, bake it for 20 minutes.
Man,
Our Thanksgiving part 2 involved bacon wrapped dates.
Nice.
And I know we had the neighbors over. I know we had family, and we had the table covered with food. But that's the only thing I remember that was on the table because it was that good. Like, it just washed all the memories of the other foods away. Bacon wrapped dates. So good.
That's crazy. Bacon wrapped dates.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, honestly, bacon wrapped anything.
Bacon.
Yep, facts.
Bacon wrapped bacon.
Yeah. How did we get to talking about bacon and poppers? Anyway. So, for me, December is going to be a lot like November in that I'm going to keep pushing forward and try to finish this book at some point, because I threw a lot of words together, and it's following a fairly cohesive narrative. But and I'm gonna say one more nice thing about plotting.
Hold on, I gotta turn up my headphones. Hold on.
We're ready.
I wrote some scenes out of order. I know, but because I knew that I would use this scene later down the road, and it was on my mind at the time when I couldn't necessarily. I don't want to say couldn't get motivated to write a certain scene, but this other one was just top of mind. It just wanted to come out, and I just went ahead and wrote it. And it doesn't exactly follow what I had written previously, but I know that it will be useful. You know, but I could only do that because I plotted it out.
Plotting.
It's
Plotting.
very, it's very interesting you make that point, Hank. I mean, it's very
Weird.
interesting.
It's bizarre is what it
yeah,
is.
crazy.
Bizarre.
So
Yeah.
it was like one method of breaking through your writer's block. Nice.
You know?
One of the
Anyway.
things I like doing about writing out of order is sometimes though the writing out of order scenes helps you learn a little bit more about the character that you wouldn't have known originally, and then you can
True.
take that fundamental knowledge of the character and weave that into
Back.
the opening scenes, because when you first start a book you really don't know the characters that
are.
you're, I mean, you do, like, fundamentally you do, but you really don't know them until you get through the book. And so a lot of the initial scenes, the initial chapters, a lot of times will get changed, sometimes wholesale, and because it doesn't fit what the character needed or what I found out about the character later. Yeah, it was all part of my. You're right. It's all part of my plan.
Brilliant.
If I had a longer mustache, I'd be twirling it right now.
Hank, are you planning on doing audiobooks with your book later on down the line?
Yes. You have to nowadays. That audio is literally the fastest growth market in publishing. So if you don't do audiobooks, you're just leaving money on the table.
For sure.
Yeah, and I've heard that the 100,000 word books translate into more listening hours, which people look for and evaluate when they have 1 credit per month to select a book.
Yeah, because I'll do that. As I'm scrolling through Amazon or through Audible, if I see something that catches my eye, but it's only 5 or 6 hours, even though that story really intrigues me, I'll skip over it and go find something else.
Absolutely.
That is 100% a thing that happens.
But we have seen some friends do free books on Audible.
Yeah.
Like there's specials, and then that book gets advertised through Audible and kind of pushed into people's phones. And it's a great way to create exposure. But you have to be able to pay for creating all that content and giving it away for free, which is most of us can't do.
Yeah. There's that needs to be a session that we do soon. All about
get Steve and Rhett on.
Yes,
if they'll talk about it.
Well, and if you get into the audio, I've got a couple of books in the audio premium category, or catalog rather.
Yeah.
And those are kind of like the KDP versions. You can listen to them for free, and the author gets paid. I don't know if we get paid per listen. Something weird with the contract. I can't remember, but the listener gets it for free, and then they go. They can listen to the book. In this case, it's a book bundle of book 1 and 2 of Terra Nova, and then if they like it, they can obviously buy 3 and 4. So obviously, it positively affects sales because you're giving free books, and then people go and buy them. So there is some avenues, but there on Audible, it's not as easily done as it is on Amazon, where you could, they give you those free days, and ACX does some things too. I mean, getting in the weeds of business and all that stuff, but it definitely should be easier, I think.
Yeah, 100%. Lauren, you mentioned Steve a minute ago. Steve Bowyer was the very first guest on our Storycraft Cafe podcast. So, and we talk a little bit about audiobooks in there, and and kind of how Athon has positioned themselves, especially in that industry. And we do discuss that on that podcast. And Steve is going to be coming on to do some stuff with us next year that we'll talk about later. We've got some stuff brewing. That's
mysteries.
Muy
mystery.
interesante.
Yeah. So I think
Are
Josh
you
might
plotting
be coming-
that, or you're planning that, or are you just
Winging it.
you're just gonna wing that? I assume.
Okay. So
the look he gave you. It could burn through the camera. Ian.
so did you guys learn anything about your writing habits this month? Like for me, I learned that if I'm going to sit down every day and write for a specific purpose, mornings are generally better for me, especially when things are quiet, when Noah gets up, goes to school before our granddaughter comes in the afternoon a lot of days and spends time with Nana and Papa. And, when the morning hours are usually the best for me. And not because I feel more fresh in the morning or anything like that, just because it's quiet and I can control the chaos the way I want it. What about y'all? Have y'all found that there's a particular time or place or that works best for you?
I know morning works well for me, but
Yeah.
that's why when I wake up in the morning, do my devotions, and then I get to it, and I'm like, well, I'll just get my work done. I'll be so productive in the morning, and I'll get it done, and I'll get it done real nice and early. And then it's like 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock, and I'm still finishing up the project. And I'm like, oh, this didn't go as planned. So yeah, I think I'm still needing to figure that out. I've tried some like dividing up my day with some exercise in the middle. I've tried different things. So
I've
still
always
working on
found
it.
the actual creative side of working for me always is best in the morning. Oddly enough, when I wake up in the morning, I already have coffee. And so I get my coffee and I sit in front of the computer and my mind is all like bleh, and I'm drinking coffee. And that's when I get my best words.
Nice.
Is when my mind is like half awake, but the coffee is flowing. If I've got a coffee cup in my hand, the words are like, as soon as the coffee runs out, I'm like, but I'm like shaking at the same time. And I do work for Athon too, and that work is also creative, but in a kind of a different context. But I always do my creative work stuff first. And one thing I might suggest, Lauren, is flip-flopping a little bit. And while you're working on this kind of book project, like instead of doing your editorial work or that work first, do like an hour of writing. And then go, because the editing stuff, all that stuff, again, like at the beginning of the show, it works different muscles. It doesn't drain the creativity that your brain needs to create something out of nothing, right? And so if you can sit down and knock out the creative words first, and then you can transition, because the editing, the work is there. You don't have to create anything. You've just got to think of the different thing. I'm not an editor, but you've got to think of the, does this word right? Is that word right? But it's completely different creative juices. And so your mind functions on a different level when you're doing that. And also you've been doing it for so long, your mind might not even have to work as hard to do it. And so the creative work in the writing, getting that, and even just an hour done before you move over there, you might have a little bit more success in generating that content than waiting until you get the actual work done. That's could be it.
Try it.
Yeah.
One thing I've discovered is if you choose to do writing, there will always be work waiting for you at the end.
Indeed.
Work will always be there.
Always.
Kate said in the chat that she's much more creative later in the evening. I used to be like that too. I used to be able to work at like 10, 11 and midnight and 1 o'clock. Now, if I'm up past 9:30, something's wrong. and I'm like that old guy that's like, it is at 7:30 yet. Let's put the kids to bed.
Yeah.
You sound like a school teacher.
Yeah.
So, Mr. School Teacher, how have you discovered where is your slot that you found in your day?
So I'm a masochist, apparently.
This show took a really drastic turn, Hank.
Yeah, it did.
So what I found is that I'm really creative in the middle of the day. And you might say, well, Ian, you teach school all throughout the day. So how does it work? I'll teach the mechanics of the lesson, and then I'll basically turn the kids loose, and I'll say, okay, now you apply what I've just taught you, and you work independently or you work in small groups. And I go to my desk and I scurry and write 400 or 500 words at a time while they're working.
Wow.
Then go loop around with them, and they all ask, "How's your book coming?" I'm like, "Oh, I'm almost done." So I don't exactly have a slow-paced job, and I'm usually exhausted when I come home from that. So I find the 10, 15 minutes every other hour to put the words on paper. Probably not the best long-term plan, but it's what's worked for me so far. I find that I am addicted to the chaos and the stress of it all. It's like the adrenaline rush of I got 8 different fires going at the same time, and I'm addicted to putting them all out at the same time. So giving myself this extra challenge of getting in like 500 words while dealing with all this other stuff. It's kind of exhilarating.
Wait until you and Molly have a baby thrown into the mix.
Looking forward to that.
Honestly, it's not that bad.
Not that bad. We have a cat, you know. I feel like if I could do with a cat.
It's pretty much the same thing.
Yeah.
Pretty much the same thing.
Yeah.
Josh, you're on fire tonight. On fire.
On fire.
These jokes.
It's been a long 2 months.
I've got 4. Look, you put them in the closet, you get them a toy or something, they're fine for most of the day.
Just throw in some cheese
5.
sticks.
Yeah.
Yeah. Another thing I wanted to ask you guys, some people hold their writing space as sacred, you know, and they create a space that when you sit down at your writing desk, you know, the synapses automatically fire because you've become accustomed to this is my writing space, and when I sit here the words flow, you know, kind of a Pavlov's dog, you know, sort of thing. And I'm a little bit like that, but I also like to grab my laptop and because, you know, Dabble syncs, you know, on the fly, I can grab my laptop and go sit outside on the patio, go sit out, you know, wherever. And especially if it's a beautiful day, and there's something about the change of scenery that opens up new possibilities in a story. Sometimes, I don't know, it just makes me feel better. So while I definitely could fall into the pattern of coming to my desk and that's my sacred writing space, I like to kind of mix it up to and I've seen like on Facebook and stuff, Josh, you know, post pictures where you go sit out on your deck sometimes and write and, you know, just enjoy the fresh air. How do you feel about holding your writing space sacred versus just being able to go anywhere and write?
I mean, I definitely love writing in my office. It's super chill. I've got a really nice sound system. I can turn it on and just blast it. Like, but nothing bothers me especially the kids are at school. I can just be here.
Yeah.
I loved writing on the deck, but now it's freezing and I can't. I wear gloves and I mash like 8 different keys at the same time, and it's like a 3-year-old pounding on the keyboard. But
if you lived in the South, it'd be 65 today. So who's making?
Well, I deserve that. I deserve that.
Don't worry, I'll be 32, right?
Just plot a move down south, Josh. That's it.
Oh yeah, definitely do that. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I'll just go move in with Steve.
Yeah, let's.
I like having look, now that I know Dabble and I've been using it, I absolutely love the app because, like you're saying, I can have it on my computer. I have it on my laptop. If I have the inkling, I can take it to a Starbucks or wherever, which I did this last week, and just sat and chilled. I didn't have to worry about it syncing anywhere, or losing parts of the story or anything like that. But I really do like having a place where I can come and just sit and be in a comfortable space that I am used to being in, and I'm definitely the most creative there. Um, but of course, it comes with a whole other set of distractions if I actually don't want to do it. So, um, I can do it either way. I just kind of have to be in the mood, and it has to be nice outside.
Yeah. What about you, Lauren?
Well, you're reminding me that I have done some writing in a diners before. And there's something about like I came here to do this thing that
Yep.
does mean I'm not doing other things like checking Facebook. I'm
Right.
here for this purpose, so I do it. And then at a diner, they just keep refilling that coffee cup again and again and again. And they
And again,
bring
and
it to
again.
you. So that's kind of wonderful.
Josh is over there just shaking.
I'm like, yes, please. Can I have 2?
Libraries are a good place. I've done some writing outside. That is great. And actually, there's this mansion that's very close to us, related to the DuPonts.
Wow,
the
editing's been
Moores.
really good.
Yeah.
You can get a membership. And back when I was doing some romance, like historical romance novel writing, I
Yeah.
was like, I need to get a membership just so I can go in this mansion and sit in the corridor and write. Because it's kind of like Downton Abbey. I'd be in Downton Abbey while writing about a sort of Downton Abbey kind of feel. That would be cool.
Oh, that's a tax
gotta
write-off.
seep into
That's a
the
write-off
story,
right there. That's research.
Right off.
Oh, yeah.
So that's a thought. There are different environments, and kind of getting up and moving would also mean no one can ask you for this and that help. That they're just they can't.
100%.
It's just not there to be asked. So
Yep.
True. Ian, I know your writing is kind of mobile. Do you like it that way? Would you prefer a sacred writing space if that was available?
It's interesting because when we started this thing, I was very hell bent on just sitting in this room right here at this very desk and writing this whole thing there. And I quickly realized that was not the case. And I think I actually prefer the mobility that I've leaned into because
Yeah.
um, if I tell myself that I can only write in this one room with this one desk, I'm never going to get anything done because I'm never back here, unless it's D&D night or we're doing the show. So if I only limit myself to that, it's just not going to get done. And once I found out that I was able to get the words in the classroom or sitting in the recliner or whatever, I was like, okay, so that whole mental block I had at the beginning of having to do it here, I just realized that was bullcrap. And I enjoy getting to do this wherever I am because I realize that it's like a mind over matter thing.
For sure.
Yeah.
It's very liberating.
I used to do a lot of dictation too, and I would go out and walk the neighborhood and then have the recording transcribed, and that that worked a couple of summers ago. I want to try to get back into it after the winter. Because it worked really good, and you got out, you walk around the neighborhood for an hour, get your exercise, come back in, have Dragon transcribe what you've done, and then look at it and figure out what the hell I was talking about. And you've got a couple instances where you're walking around. I was dictating like some kind of a torture scene or something, and then some nice lady's pushing her baby stroller up and so you've stopped talking for a minute and you're like, oh, how are you? You have a very nice baby. Yes, thank you. It's good. And so then it comes through on the recording, and so you can see where I stopped and then where I talked to the lady, and then we go back into ripping fingernails off, and I'm like, that's really weird. It's happening on this.
So funny. That's so funny. I'm glad you brought up the dictation because the voice typing on most cell phones has gotten so good that Dragon used to be a thing that you would invest in if you were going to do that, and then you had to train it, and and then as the years went on, it got better and better and better, and got the hurdles were lower and lower. But now you could just literally dictate on your cell phone, and it's pretty good.
It's fairly good, yeah.
If you dictate a scene, do you feel like it's a different flow state? Lauren was talking about that flow state earlier, where you're just writing and the story's just coming through. Is it different when you're dictating it? I've dictated pieces of a scene here or there when I've just been like in the car and I had an idea and I want to get that down before I lose it, but I've never like just purposefully set out, I'm going to dictate this entire scene while I walk the neighborhood or something. And I completely get it, but it feels a little disjointed to me still.
It's very disjointed, and it takes a little bit of getting used to. When I dictate, I don't do. I dictate what I call extremely rough drafts, where there's like you got a Kevin J. Anderson type who does all of his writing by dictation and transcription. I've read his book multiple times. He sends it off to a transcriptionist. They type it up, so he's got punctuation in it. He's got all of that stuff. I don't do any of that. I will talk out like a fight scene and say he punches here, he kicks here, he does this. Even if I have dialogue, I'll go back and forth between the dialogue, but I don't do any of the punctuation. I don't do any of that. And so when I get done with mine, I'll have whatever 1,800 words, say, of extremely rough words. And then Dragon transcribes that to me, and then I can go in and clean it up and edit it. It doesn't take very long, but it does take about 20, 30 minutes depending on how rough it is. But the flow state's really different because it's really weird how the idea generation for story goes through your body, through your fingers, into your keyboard, and it feels so natural. You're like, oh, this is so great. And then you're starting, and then you like try to vocalize it. And you're like, I'm stupid. I don't know words. Like I know in my mind what I'm wanting to say, but I can't. Like it's not. And so that took a really long time to get over. And I had to get over the fact that it sounds stupid. Like if you listen to it, it sounds dumb, right? But you have to get over that and then just talk your way. It's like telling yourself the story almost. Yeah. Right. And you tell yourself the story and that rough draft is down, and then you can clean it up, and then you have a fairly workable draft going forward. I wish I was as good as Kevin J. Anderson, man, because I can dictate 1,800 words in like 30 minutes. And that's a phenomenal amount, like compared to what I can type, because I can only type like I do about 600 words in 20 minutes, and I'll do sprints like that. And that's pretty good, but it's nowhere near what I could do if I actually focused on dictation.
Well, I remember a few years ago, Chris Fox had his write 5,000 words.
Oh, for sure, yeah.
And that was one of his huge, tricks was to dictate a lot of it. Planning and plotting, of course, so that you know what to dictate when.
Planning and plotting, of course. Yeah. We heard that. We all heard that.
I didn't say anything.
Look, I'm quoting my friend Chris. That's all. Okay. But where was I going?
5,000 words.
You're talking about 5,000 words a day and dictating.
Yeah. And I interviewed Kevin J. Anderson on Author Stories a couple of years ago, and he tells that he goes on hikes and he just talks into a micro cassette recorder. I guess
I've got the same exact one he uses.
Oh, really?
It's definitely not as productive as his, but it did get some work done.
I can just I haven't heard one of his tapes, but I can imagine that it is just pristine, because that's just his process now.
For sure.
Well, I'm still working toward that. I'll just put it that way. Mine's. We'll see if it becomes a tool that I can truly say is in my toolkit, or if it's just a novelty at the.
It's a lot easier in. Really, I'm sorry, Lawrence. I didn't mean to step on you. It's a lot easier transcribing than actually voice typing, because if you're like a lot of people will do the voice to text and type. But then you're looking at what happens on the screen, and then you go back and fix it, and then it doesn't say the word, and you like are repeating yourself trying to get everything done. With
Yeah, I feel
this,
like
you
that's two different things.
yeah, oh for sure. And
Yeah.
I think voice to text is actually slower. The only time I usually voice to text is if I can't spell the word, and then I'll like whatever, click
Mhm.
and then I'll say the word and go through. But then if you're dictating and the computer's doing it while you're dictating, then I see everything wrong and I've got to fix it and it doesn't work. With the transcription, the audio recording transcription, I don't see it until it comes out. So I can just talk and talk and talk. And the thing that I took me the longest to understand, but was basically the simplest thing is it doesn't matter that you're not talking, because the computer the program that does the transcription doesn't see that as anything, right? So I can do a whole paragraph and then I can stop. It's still going. My recorder's still going. I use a little like mic, wired mic. It's still recording, but I'm just kind of thinking. And then I can say a paragraph and then stop and think for a minute. But in the transcription, it's all one wall of text. And that was the
It's not
biggest...
just going to be a hunk of dead space.
Yeah, there's like a whole white, like 9 pages of nothing. And I'm like, what is going on here? Yeah.
Ian, have you tried voice dictation?
I actually have not. I've always kind of felt awkward holding a tape recorder, but I might have to give that a try.
It's bizarre to begin with, for sure. But I think when you get your own mind out of the way,
Yeah.
I don't know. I would love to just walk with Kevin J. Anderson one day and
Yeah.
just, I don't want to give you any input. I just want to watch what you do. How do you get into that state? And, does he act out the different characters? Like when you come to dialogue,
that would be the most complicated thing for me, I think. Like, how do I differentiate this?
Right.
Well, it's just like, it's like writing it. You don't write it and differentiate in the words.
But when
your
you
fingers
write,
don't try different accents.
when you
Exactly.
write, you're looking at it. You're looking at the screen right in front of you, and the words are appearing. So, visually and mental space, they're in the same place. Whereas if you're transcribing it, you're out taking a walk or whatever, and you're looking at the road, you're looking at the sky, you're looking at the trees and everything. You're looking at something different. So that's where the disconnect is for me. But the funny thing is, while you guys were talking, I just remembered, like, back in the day, this was story creating. It was speaking the story out loud. It was storytelling.
Yeah.
There wasn't writing. It was storytelling.
100%.
So maybe that could be a little mind trick, for some, that could work for some people, is what you're saying, Josh, earlier. Tell yourself the story tell. And maybe that can getting your mind away from picturing or visualizing the words and just like, I'm just going to speak it and tell myself a story. That might help.
I actually, I would, when I got used to doing it, I would go out and for like the first 5 minutes, I would just ask myself questions. What if I did this? Or what if I did that? And I didn't care that would come out in the transcription. Right. And so it was, I would start asking myself those questions and like, what if he did this? Or what if he did that? Well, what if he did do that? And then I do paragraphs of just stuff. And eventually, like you're saying, Lauren, you hit that flow state of just talking to yourself about what could happen. And the what could happen turns into what does happen in the story. And that transition in your mind of talking and telling yourself that, especially when you're out and no one's around and no one's listening to you, or apparently listening to you, and Big Brother's up there somewhere doing something. But I had really good success with it. I need to find my tape recorder again. I don't know.
Maybe that's the other secret. You just tell the NSA your story.
Oh yeah, and then they can transcribe it for me. Yeah,
they're bored.
They've got some kind of supercomputer that does
entertain them.
If you install Dabble on your phone and you open up the scene that you're working on and you hit the little button there for writing and your keyboard comes up, you can hit the microphone there and just voice dictate right into Dabble as you're doing it, and it's translating what I'm saying as I'm talking.
Yes.
Wow.
Gonna have to edit that out. No, leave it in. Leave it in.
Yeah. I'm gonna be reading back over this in the morning and go, what in the world?
All right, I got to get this on my phone.
But yeah, so just
Corey mentioned it in chat. Just press record for iOS. That's the app I started using when I was doing transcription, because the app will transcribe it for you and email you the document, so you don't actually have to have
Nice.
Dragon. You can do the voice recording on Just Press Record, and then it will transcribe it for free. It's pretty accurate, and then you can email it to yourself. I like using an actual digital recorder. Because you can plug in a microphone and I can slide it in, and I can also have my phone open and like do whatever I need to do. But yeah, after there was one time I was in my truck dictating, and I dictated for like 45 minutes and got home and opened up the app to send it to myself, and it didn't transcribe anything. And I went back in and listened to the file, complete white noise for 45 minutes. It was like that scene in it's like that scene in Contact where they're like, there's all this white noise when she drops through the thing, and they're like, yeah, but there's like 4 hours of what, or whatever, however many long, how many days she was gone or whatever. Yeah. So then I got a digital recorder.
Man, that would so did at least that time of talking through the scene when you actually had to go write it, then did that help because you had already kind of worked through it?
No, because I was so mad that I lost it, and I know that I had written it, and so now I'm sitting here going, I need to write it exactly the way that I had it in there, and it was like a brain block of I want to write it again, but it's going to be completely different than I already did it, and I was like, I mean, eventually it got done, but yeah, right after that I was so mad.
Oh, I had that happen to a couple of podcasts before where we did a whole interview and then either it didn't record or something happened to the recording, and then you're like, do you think we could do it again?
Yeah.
And it's never the same the second time.
Right.
No matter what you try, it's just never the same. Sometimes maybe better, maybe.
Well, because then you're all like, did I ask that question? Did I ask that question again?
Right.
Yeah.
So bad. So what's your December look like going forward? For me, I am about what I perceive as halfway through this book. I have a clear direction where I'm going. I'm kind of at that kind of that middle tent pole in the story structure. I'm kind of there, and I've got a couple of more tent poles that I have set that I'm writing toward before kind of my big twist going into the third act. So I have a clear direction where I'm going, and hoping that December that I can maintain the momentum that I've gained over this last month, and I can finish it. That's where I am going into December. How do y'all see your December going?
Just gonna keep pressing forward. I'll try Josh's trick. Try just write first thing, just for an hour. I can do that. I can.
You can do it.
I can do it.
Don't feel guilty about it either.
Really?
Yeah. You can't feel guilty about it.
No, you're a grown person. At the end of the day, you've got to own what you did and make a decision for how tomorrow's going to be.
Right.
That's the dad in me coming out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a good story, and I have fun when I'm in it.
And it's still work, right? Like it is work.
Yeah.
It's just a different kind of work than you're doing on the editing stuff.
Mm-hmm.
It's not like you're not doing the editing so you can, I don't know, just slack off and watch YouTube videos for, an hour. You're actually doing work that is growing you as a professional author. So
yeah. Oh yeah. The writing work.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you for reminding me of that. Because there was one Saturday, my dad set aside a Saturday to take Nana to a funeral so that I could stay home and work on this book all day long. My family stepped in, and I spent hours just like staring out the window. And it was very discouraging because, like, you know, with editing, you put in the time, you get pages done. It happens. I'm at 2.25 million words. I might get 2.5 million done for the year. I'm very excited about that. But that's just
Wow.
what hard work, you know, it pays off. Not true with creative endeavors
Right.
necessarily.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it still is useful work to work at.
Some days writing is sitting and staring out the window for a couple of hours.
It is
You
true.
know, it's not always fingers on the keyboard, but understanding which phase you're in is the important part.
Let's see. My December is hopefully going to have the majority of this book done. I've got another project that I've got to, the Second Star project I've got to have finished by April ish. And so I want to get book two done, and then this other project I'd probably need about 45,000 words on this other project before April. So I would like to finish up the majority of this book in December, and in January swap over to knock out this book, and then go back and polish up book 2, and then start on book 3 by February or March. So
Nice.
yeah.
So are you publishing the series all at once or in quick succession? Is that the plan?
Well, so the majority of it's done. Like I've got 120,000, 130,000 words done, that are that are going to be split between 2 or 3 books. We haven't really decided how we're going to split it up, but it's getting put on this app called Yonder. And it's a new app that Athon has partnered with, and they're doing a whole lot of other things. It's a read by chapter app where you buy some credits, you buy some currency on the app, and then you can read by chapter. And we've already got 30 or 40 titles on the app. And this project of mine, this Second Star, which isn't called Second Star anymore, we added that to the bundle of the last group of stories that are getting published on the app. And mine will be the beginning of it will be published in March, and then new chapters get added every week. So I don't technically have to have it done by April because there's 130,000 words it has to get through before then. So, but it sounds like we're going to do it as an audiobook too. And if we do as an audiobook too, then yes, they'll be published probably all the same time or really close to each other at the same time.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. Ian, what's December looking like for you?
It's one of the most stressful times of the year for work, which means it's going to be one of the most fun times of the year for me to write. I'm really liking where I'm at in the story right now, and I think the next several scenes I'm going to write are going to probably be some of my favorites to write. So I'm really looking forward to getting back to the keyboard to hammering those out. If I could possibly get this first draft done in December, that would be amazing. Fingers crossed that we get to that point. But I've decided I'm not going to worry too much about it. If I don't, I'm just having fun finally giving life to the story I've had in my head for so long.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Well, we're taking December off from official challenge work. And we're going to kick off another challenge, the first of the year. And I think we're going to call it Rewrite a Novel with Dabble in 60 Days. So we're going to take these first drafts that we are sitting with at the first of the year and look at what rewriting means and kind of go through some of that fun process. Would you guys be up for doing a hangout like toward the end of December just to kind of check in to see
for sure
where we are with these books? I think that would be fun if y'all are up for it.
Yeah, let me know.
Awesome. Well, everybody, thank you for joining us for this challenge. It's been a huge motivator for me. I think a lot of people over in the Storycraft Cafe have really resonated with, just there's something about joining a group and and having a common goal that and motivating each other that is it's just fun to be a part of something.
Absolutely.
It's great to set goals for yourself, but it's also great to be a part of something. So I hope to keep these kinds of things going and to keep the community camaraderie you know at a good point. um Anybody have anything that that you want to add, or any beef that you need to air out here at the end?
No,
we've
I just
done a lot
again
of that.
thanks for inviting me to do the challenge with you. I'm glad that you've been able to plot and plan not only this book but also other things, more challenges and more different things that you're doing, and I'm very proud of you.
Okay, well, the
Oh.
next challenge is get Josh to write by the seat of his pants.
Oh man.
And Kate just said, so while still learning at that, is it okay to use the next challenge for the second half of my book? Absolutely. Use the next challenge to write a first draft of a book, or to continue writing a book, or to revise your book. It's just a chance for us all to get to hang out together again, motivate each other, and talk through problems that we're having. It's been, I can't tell you how valuable this has been for me to just kind of ramble about things. And some things only get unstuck when you say them out loud and, share that burden with someone else. So this has been a lot of fun for that.
Thanks for leading us on this adventure.
Oh yeah.
It has been my pleasure. Absolutely. Well, guys, we're going to sign off for now, and everybody stay connected and keep writing those books.
Thanks, Hank.
Have a good night.